If you're a coach who wants more clients, keep watching because I'm about to show you exactly how to get them. I use these tips to help Karuna hit her first 15K month and go full-time as a health coach. Federica made 9,500 euros in July, and Megan, a coach for VAs, hit her first $27,000 month. Ready to join them? Keep watching and I'll show you how. Tip number one is to dial up what makes you different. I hear from coaches all the time who say, Jason, I'm a health coach. There are a million other health coaches out there. How do I stand out? Or if I'm a business coach, there's so many people out there who are doing what you do. How have you been able to build a multi-six-figure business doing something that so many other people do as well? Here is the truth. People decide to work with you not just because of what you do, but because of who you are. And so when it comes to your marketing, one of the biggest keys to success is you've got to show people who you are and show people what makes you different. Now, oftentimes this is really difficult to do because it means you got to show people aspects of yourself that are polarizing. That if some people see those things, they're going to go, oh, this person is not for me. So as an example, when I talk about being spiritual, talk about living in Denver, Colorado, or loving dogs and not really being a cat person, these are all examples of little anecdotes and things that if you hear those things, you're either going to go, oh, wow, like that's really interesting. I also used to live in Colorado. Or you're like, this guy, I don't know who the heck he is, like this is not for me. And so the more that I show people who I am and dial up what makes me different in my marketing, the more my marketing is polarizing, it pushes some people away and it attracts other people more strongly to me. And this is one of the biggest keys to standing out, especially in today's world where there are a lot of coaches out there who are probably doing what you do. You know, that doesn't mean that you can't succeed. It does mean that your marketing does need to do a better job showing people what makes you different. And the better you can get at this, the more you can show people who you are and those things that maybe you're afraid to share because you're afraid that they're going to be polarizing or going to turn people off. Great. Like let's bring more of that to the table. I really want to get a strong sense when I see your social media content and your website and everything that you put out in the world. Here's who this person is. And the better you can get at that, the more clients you're ultimately going to sign. Tip number two is to nail your audience growth. One of the biggest problems I see from coaches who come to me who are like, Jason, I'm not getting clients, or Jason, I'm getting clients inconsistently. I need more consistency in my business. Is they're missing a consistent way of growing their audience and bringing new people in their niche into their world. This is probably one of the most important keys to success. You need a way of getting in front of people who don't know you, who are in your niche, and building those relationships and bringing those people back into your world so you can warm them up over time. And if you're missing this, it's like, you know, I see a lot of coaches who are just posting on their personal profile every single day on social media, but they have no way of getting in front of new people. It's like you're showing up in the same room every day and you're talking to the same 50 people and you might have a couple clients in there, but I see a lot of coaches who come to me after a couple months of running their business and they're like, you know, things were great at first. I had a couple clients, then, you know, things really dried up. And it's because they haven't nailed their audience growth. They don't have that lever that they can pull in their business to be able to do this. Now, a couple things I see from a lot of coaches that get in the way of this. Number one, not really knowing who your people actually are. The first most important key to success, you got to know who you're getting in front of. If you're trying to get in front of everyone, or if you don't really have a clear sense of who your niche really is, that would be the first key to success. But also see a lot of coaches practicing what I would call the spaghetti method when it comes to their marketing, where it's like they're just throwing spaghetti against the wall, trying to see what sticks. And every 2 weeks they try a new marketing strategy and they don't stick with anything long enough to get results. So it's important to really dial in what's going to work here for you, and then to be able to show up consistently over an extended period of time to grow your audience and bring new people into your world. Another big mistake that I see in this area is getting in front of the wrong people. Now, sometimes this is just because you don't know who the right people are, but sometimes it's because it's very easy to get distracted, especially on social media, and start to create, you know, content is more focused on how do I just get as many views as possible? How do I grow my audience as big as possible? You know, we get distracted by things like likes and hearts and comments, and we forget that sometimes the best thing to do is to get more narrow in terms of what you're actually creating and putting out into the world. Like our YouTube channel could be 10 times the size if I just created like generic business content that could appeal to anyone, but I know who I'm speaking to. I only work with coaches, and I only work with coaches who are in that growth phase of their business. That being said, you know, our content is really narrow. We have less subscribers. We get less views on our videos, but it's fine because the right people watch them, because we've gotten really intentional about the content that we create and making sure that we're focused on not just getting in front of people, but in front of the right people. So asking yourself when it comes to your marketing, number one, who are my people? And number two, what can I do to get in front of those people? Not being so focused on like the views and the likes and how do we just grow subscribers, but how do I make sure that what I'm doing and how I'm showing up is getting me connected with more people in my niche who ultimately are gonna be the right people to hire me. Now, if you're looking for more guidance on how to do this and how to ultimately dial in your marketing so you can get on track to signing 2, 3, 4, or more high-paying coaching clients month after month, I put together a free client attraction guide that walks through so much of my best advice on this, things that I've shared with thousands of coaches to help them do this at this point. And you can get it completely free. All you gotta do is click the link above or in the description down below to go download that right now. That brings us to tip number 3, which is become a specialist. Why do brain surgeons get paid 5 or 10 times the amount that general practitioners do? Well, it's pretty simple. The brain surgeon is the specialist and the GP is the generalist. You go to your GP because you got a cold, you got some weird rash on your butt, you got a million things going on that you go to your GP for. But if you have a problem with your brain, you're not gonna go to your GP, you're gonna go to the specialist, right? And so this is why brain surgeons make so much more money, because they're focused on a very narrow, specific problem and helping a very small group of people solve that problem. As a coach, I want you to be a specialist because this is how you make a lot more money. And this is how you really position yourself as an expert and a leader in your space. You know, as an example, in our business, I could be a business coach for anyone. I could be a business coach for people who, you know, want to grow brick and mortar businesses or e-commerce businesses. Part of the reason we've been able to build a multi-6-figure coaching business in a pretty short period of time, just a couple of years, is I've gotten really intentional about focusing on a very narrow lane, which is helping coaches grow their businesses. So I don't work with people who are outside of that space. And as a result, everything that I do in terms of our marketing is so much more effective. Because if you're watching this right now and you're a coach, you're probably resonating on a deeper level with what I'm sharing, because everything that I do is really focused for you on your problems and the things that you really want, versus a more generic business coach probably wouldn't have a message that's as specific, and as a result, wouldn't really resonate with you on a deep level. So the key to being able to stand out, to be able to make a deeper connection with potential clients, to ultimately get to a place where people see you as an expert who they really want to work with, is to be the specialist, to narrow your focus. See so many coaches that I go on their website and it's like, I can help you with your finances and your relationships and your health. And they're trying to be the catch-all coach for everyone. If you're doing this, you're going to struggle. You know, especially if you're in the early days, it can feel counterintuitive to narrow and to become the specialist, because you're like, well, I don't have enough clients, Jason. Why would I do that? You know, why don't I just cast a wider net to be able to focus on anyone who comes in the door? It's counterintuitive, but actually that's the very thing that's holding you back from getting clients. As you start to narrow your focus more and more, you'll become like a lighthouse for the right people. And that makes it so much easier to get clients consistently. So be the specialist. Ask yourself, what is the very narrow group of people that I want to help? And what's that narrow problem that I'm going to solve? And starting to show up in your messaging, your content, how you communicate to the world in that way. That's going to make it so much easier ultimately to get clients. Tip number 4 is don't make your content do all the heavy lifting. I think there's a lot of romanticism in the coaching space around this idea of attraction marketing. It's like, I just show up on social media and create really great content and people just DM me all day and I don't really have to do anything. Here's the truth, especially for coaches who are a little bit earlier on in their journey. What I find is there's this balance between what I would call push marketing and pull marketing. Pull marketing is that attraction marketing. When you create content, you draw people to you. An example of attraction marketing would be a video like this. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you're like, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. I'm gonna go check out what he does. You know, this is how we're able to get clients consistently month after month. One of the things we do is we, create videos and lots of free resources and things like that. So that's one strategy that we use. But on the other side of the coin, we've got push marketing, which is reaching out to people, opening up conversations, engaging with people, creating more intimacy and connection. And a lot of people are afraid to do this because they don't want to come off as salesy. They don't want to be like in their DMs. They just want clients to fall from the sky. And in my experience, especially if you're in the earlier days of your coaching journey, making less than $10,000 a month in your business, relying more on push marketing and really, going out there and engaging with people and having those conversations and opening up the door through DMs and, exploring people who are following you and asking them, what their challenges are and what they really want and figuring out how you can help them is a much better way to create traction, especially as you're working to dial in your messaging. Because oftentimes in the earlier stages of your business, your messaging is still, it's a work in progress. Relying on your content to do all the work for you is going to be difficult, versus you actually going out there, opening up a DM conversation. It's like you can really very quickly figure out what someone wants and where they're at, and then be able to pitch a personalized next step to them, whether that's a free training or a call or something like that. So don't be afraid of doing this, and don't expect your content to do all the heavy lifting for you. Instead, look at how can I balance both of these things in my business? Still creating content, still building that attraction marketing, but also also being proactive about opening up conversations and exploring how you might be able to help. And tip number 5 is to shift your focus from self to service. This is something that I've thought a lot about over the past few years, because the truth is, I used to be very focused on myself, and I still kind of am, maybe. My family would say, you're still kind of self-focused. But here's the truth. Getting clients is an outcome. The outcomes always follow from doing the right things. And in this case, how do you get clients? It's really not about showing up every day and the energy of like, how do I get a client? If you're showing up, you're creating content. Like if I turned on this camera and I was like, how do I make this video so that I'm gonna get clients from it? It would have a totally different energy. You'd probably be watching this and you'd be like, there's just something that doesn't feel right about this. It feels like this guy just wants to get something from me. It's not really a lot of value here. It's not really focused on me and helping me and building a relationship. And it probably turned you off. And honestly, I see a lot of stuff like that online, like a lot of videos and webinars and things that are just like, it's like you could tell the focus was completely on the person who is creating the content. It's like, how do I get something from this? Versus showing up every day and saying, how can I give? How can I be of service to my niche? What are their challenges and problems? What are the things that they want? What are the questions that they have unanswered? And how can I show up and give and be of service? And this doesn't just apply to free content. This applies to how you show up on sales calls. It's like, are you getting on a call to close someone? Showing up in that energy of like, how do I just make a sale? Or how do I figure out what someone wants and how I can genuinely help them in this conversation? The more that you can shift your focus from self to service, the easier it's gonna be to get clients. Because the truth is, people wanna do business with you when they feel like you've got their best interests at heart and you wanna help them. The money that you make, the clients that you sign are always an outcome of that. So how can you show up more in that energy of service in your business? Asking yourself that. And maybe, just being honest with yourself when you're creating content. And I do this sometimes too. It's very easy to get distracted and you're sitting down, you're just like, how do I just, write this post to get something? And really asking yourself, how can I shift that energy so I can show up consistently in that heart of service day after day after day? I've found personally for me, the more that I can embody that energy, the more that I can show up consistently in that place, the easier it is to get clients. It's really that simple. And tip number 6 is to validate your messaging. So coaches often ask me, what do I put in all this content? What's my message? How do I know the right words to say? And my answer is always, you're asking the wrong person. I am not your niche. The people who are your niche are going to be the ones who can tell you what you need to put in your content. So what a lot of coaches do, I see, is they choose a niche and then they just start showing up and creating content, and they're making a lot of guesses in terms of what those people really want versus actually going out there and doing market research and having conversations with these people. And this is why we spend a lot of time inside Coaching Launchpad teaching coaches exactly how to do this. We've got a whole framework for how to do this well. So before you even start marketing, you've had a dozen conversations with people in your niche and you've asked the right questions to really identify what they really want and need. And when you can do this well, it's like you get the answers to the test, because people will tell you what they want. They will tell you the words that you need to use. And when you show up in your content online, what you're really doing is you're just holding up a mirror to your ideal clients. You're reflecting back to them, their life, their desires, their challenges, their goals. And when you do this well in your content, this is how you draw people in. But it starts from really understanding your people and validating your messaging by doing market research. So don't skip this stuff. It's not sexy. It's not a lot of fun. But the truth is, it's going to give you the clarity that you need to dial in your messaging, and rather than feeling like you're guessing at what you're saying, to know exactly what you need to put, exactly the words you need to use in every piece of social media content, everything on your website. And when you've got this dialed in, it's like magic. You're gonna have people reaching out to you on a daily basis saying, oh my God, I feel like you're reading my diary. That is what happens when you've got really dialed in messaging, when you've taken the time to understand your people and what they really want. So don't skip this step. Make sure you've got your messaging validated and you've done that work up front. It's gonna make everything else so much easier when it comes to getting clients. And tip number 7 is to leverage partnerships. One of the best ways to grow your audience quickly and get more clients quickly as a coach is to get in front of other people's audiences where, there's a group of people who are your niche that someone else has taken the time to congregate and bring together. So rather than you just having a conversation with, one person in your niche at a time, you can get in front of a group of 1,000 people in your niche or 10,000 people in your niche at once. So much easier to get traction and momentum really fast. So this could be looking at podcasts and saying, well, are there any podcasts out there that, someone has cultivated an audience that overlaps with my niche? If you're a health coach, you might look at other health coaching podcasts or other podcasts out there that are focused on health and wellness and go reach out to those people and see if you can get some interviews scheduled in. Or maybe there are Facebook groups out there or YouTube channels or other groups of people that you can get in front of. This is one of the best ways of growing your audience quickly. So asking yourself, how can I get creative here? What are some other groups of people that I might be able to tap into where there's overlap between, my niche and their niche? And, what's my angle? How do I reach out to these people and figure out, how to get it in? Sometimes that's money, by the way. You can pay for sponsorships. I've done this before in the past. Example is there was a Facebook group with 20, 30,000 coaches in it. And I ended up doing a sponsorship deal with the owner of the group, where I did a webinar and some promotion in there. So that can work really well. Sometimes it's just reaching out to podcasts and saying, hey, I've got 5,000 followers on Instagram and I'd love to be able to share your podcast with them. How about we do a guest interview and, I can share the interview afterwards and get you some new followers and help you grow your podcast. Sometimes it's as simple as that. So you got to have a little bit of an angle and an in. Sometimes it's just building relationships with those people and genuine friendships. Some of the partnerships that I did in the early days when I first started coaching back in 2016, it was just I had a really close friend who I connected with and we became friends over years. And then we started doing, more partnership stuff together because he was running a business in a niche that was exactly the same as mine. So that stuff can work too. Even if you don't have a big audience or a lot of money to be able to play with, to do sponsorships and things like that. But asking yourself, how can I get creative here and leverage partnerships? Super powerful strategy to grow your coaching business. And the 8th tip for getting more coaching clients is to create depth with long form content. Coaches often ask me, how do I warm people up in my audience more quickly? Growing my followers, but I feel like I want more people to reach out to me. How do I do it? One of the best ways to do that is with long form content. When you can create depth through helping somebody, connect with you in a way where they get to spend a little bit more time with you. It's not just quick little social media posts that they can read in 30 seconds, but something where maybe it's a masterclass where they can show up and spend an hour and a half with you, or a long form YouTube video like this, where it's hey, if you're watching this at this point, you've spent 20 minutes hanging out with me. You're probably oh wow, I've got a little bit of a relationship that I've built with Jason at this point. We create a lot of long form content in our business because it's one of the best ways to warm people up quickly. And it's not that social media posts and reels and more short form content isn't good. I think that also serves a place in your growth strategy and in building your business. But long form content is great for nurturing people, and it's great for warming people up more quickly. So asking yourself, am I integrating long form content in my business? So many different ways you can do this. Master classes, going live on social media maybe once a week on your profile and just doing a 15-minute thing on Instagram or something like that. Maybe it's recording YouTube videos like these and sending them out to your followers. Many different ways you can do this, but the key is I think long form content is important to have in your business as a part of your strategy, not just relying 100% on short form content to do all the heavy lifting for you. And tip number 9 is to avoid price-based positioning. This is a tricky one, because sometimes I hear from coaches who are like, Jason, I feel like I'm always getting these price objections. People are always saying it's too expensive. And so they start lowering their prices and they start, looking at other coaches out there and saying, can I be a little bit cheaper? Or how do I just really talk a lot about my prices in terms of my marketing? Hey, get in for 50% off this week, or, our program is the most affordable out there. There's, lots of different ways you can market, but one of the ways that people do is they really front load the price and they use that as a way of differentiating themselves. And I am not a fan of this at all. The number one reason is because your best clients are not price shopping. The people who want to work with you are going to work with you regardless of what it costs because they're sold on you. And when I think about how I make coaching decisions today, the mentors that I work with, it's not based on price. I want to work with this person because I believe that they can help me. And I know that investing in this relationship is going to generate a much higher return in my business. Pricing is not a big concern for me in terms of how I make decisions. And there are plenty of people out there who think the same way as that. But, when you're marketing and you're showing up on social media every day talking about how affordable you are, front loading your rates and making that be the thing that you use to market what you do, what you're going to do is you're going to attract all the people who price is the top thing on their mind. And for those people, there's no price that's going to be low enough. Those people are just going to want you to lower your prices even more. And so you get in this vicious cycle where it's well, I feel like I can't price low enough. I'm still getting these pricing objections. People are still telling me I'm too expensive. And it's because you're talking about price. You're making that the feature at the forefront of your marketing. There's so many better ways to market. And we teach, a lot of those strategies inside Coaching Launchpad or other programs. I don't spend a lot of time talking about price. And I would recommend that you don't do that too. I also would recommend that you don't try to be the cheapest. Personally, I don't really care how much other business coaches charge. We price based on the return on the investment, what someone's going to get in return as a result of going through this experience, not based on what, Joe, whoever is charging, in some other coaching program out there. I don't care about that. So there's a lot to pricing and this mindset, but I would recommend not using price-based positioning when it comes to marketing what you do as a coach. And the 10th tip is to increase intimacy in your offers. Most people are always going to want more connection with you. That's the thing. Especially when you're running personal brand-driven business, and most of you who are watching this, that's what we're doing as coaches. People are going to want more connection with you. So if you're running a group coaching program or something like that, looking at how can I create more intimacy? And sometimes that's, a higher end VIP tier. I've seen a lot of coaches do this where it's you have your core group coaching program, and then you've got an option that people can upgrade to where they get a couple one-to-ones or maybe Telegram support with you. I've used this in our business quite a bit where people get access to me one-to-one via text, and that works really well. It also scales a little bit more effectively. So your calendar is not maxed out with coaching calls all the time. So there can be different things that you do at different stages of your business depending on where you're at. Maybe right now, you're in the earlier stages of your coaching business. And for most coaches who are doing under 10K a month, I would recommend a one-to-one coaching offer. See a lot of coaches jumping to group programs or selling courses. Not a great way to go when you're in the early days of your business. The easiest offer to sell is always going to be the one with the highest intimacy with you. So asking yourself, how can I create more intimacy with my clients? Because that's ultimately going to be the thing that people want. And people are going to be more excited about signing up to work with you if you can really front load that piece in terms of how you structure your offers. Now, these 10 tips are super powerful. And if you integrate even one or two of those, you can make a massive difference in terms of your ability to get more clients. But if you're looking for a roadmap that you can follow to help you get on track to signing 2, 3, 4, or more high-paying coaching clients month after month in your business, I also recommend that you download our free client attraction guide right now. It covers so much of my best advice when it comes to getting clients consistently. And all you got to do to get it, it's completely free, is click the link above or in the description down below. I hope you check that out. It's really good stuff, and I'd love to share it with you. And if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely going to love that one too. So click the link on the screen to go check that out, and I'll see you in the next video.